COVID cases continuing to spike in China, and apparently it's already starting to impact many multinational companies as well as the global supply chain. So here we go again. Let's bring in Yahoo Finance's Anjalee Khemlani, who is here with more on the details coming out of China. Anjalee?
That's right, Brian. You could say it again. Here we go again. It feels in some ways like it's not 2020 all over again. And in some ways, we do feel that, looking at China in particular, under lockdown once again for the first time since 2022. We're seeing nearly 3,000 cases reported yesterday and more than 37 million under lockdown. We know that some factories have had to halt production, and schools in Beijing and Shanghai are now online indefinitely. And that really puts a strain, of course, as we know, on the population, and sort of repeating some of those impacts that we saw with production in the supply chain from back in 2022, when the country was basically entirely under lockdown in many parts. So a lot of focus there right now, and the impact of that, and really what that story is and how it translates to the rest of the world as we see rising cases globally.
Anjalee, are there any changes to how China is handling the surge? Because this is obviously not the first time they've handled this. It appears that they're doing this kind of by region. We know, for example, in Shenzhen, they might be approaching it differently than they are in other regions of the country. How are they approaching it this time around?
Yeah, I would say that you see broadly, of course, they have that zero COVID policy, and we've been talking about how that's been put to the test. They've had to reduce a little bit of the stringency on some of this. So, for example, milder symptoms in positive cases no longer need to go to the hospital, but they do still push for isolation, and those isolation times have been reduced. So that's one thing. In addition, they're also adding the Pfizer treatment, that oral treatment, to the treatment strategy. And on that note, it's really important to point out that not just China, but the rest of the world also gaining access to Pfizer's treatment, with an announcement from the Medicine Patents Pool, the UN-backed group, just earlier today, that Pfizer is making good on an agreement from November where it said it would agree to voluntary license of the pill. And so now 35 drug makers have gotten on board to help produce this at cheaper cost, following what Gilead Sciences did for remdesivir. The deal allows the pill to be sent to 95 countries, covering up to approximately 53% of the world's population. And just moments ago, Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla tweeting that the bottom line is, for as long as the pandemic lasts, Pfizer will not profit from the sales, noting that the company will not be receiving payments on sales in low and low-income countries, and will further waive payments on sales in all countries covered by the agreement as long as the public health emergency is in place. So at least, when we're talking about the comparison from 2020 to now, we have a treatment on the table that is being globally produced as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least on that front, the picture looking very much better 2 years into this than it was in 2020. Yahoo Finance's Anjalee Khemlani, thanks so much.